Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be talking about Kizaru. How strong is he really? So to start things off, we're going to be talking about Kizaru from what we know of him anyway. Kizaru hasn't been seen in a very long time. We only have a few moments where we actually see him using his powers, and we can gauge a little bit of his strength from those moments, but we're going to do a lot more today and speculate a little bit further from what they actually show us. Maybe see what's between the lines, if that makes any sense. So to start off, Kizaru is a very dangerous man. He's an admiral. He is the owner of the glint fruit, or the, I don't know, what do you call it, the wielder? He's not wielding a fruit, anyway, he is a light man, and he can turn his body into light, travel at the speed of light, reflect himself, basically do everything that light can do. And then turn solid and kick you in the face. Like this. So we just got a taste of this speed battle between Luffy and Lucci, and it wasn't too much, but it was referenced just for a moment where Luffy was going so fast that Lucci had to stand in awe of his speed. Or maybe it was Kaku, I need to go back and read that. Anyway, somebody was like, damn, that was way too fast. Both of them were moving at tremendous speeds, but who can move faster than light? That may not matter, ultimately, as you will see at the end of this video, but ultimately we have to believe that Luffy and Kizaru will be a good match for each other because of speed. Luffy is able to basically just do whatever he wants to do, so Kizaru's powers and abilities may not be a factor that much when fighting against Luffy, because Luffy kind of bends reality to make whatever he wants happen, which is kind of like, again, skewing towards that unclimactic area with storytelling. It's going to be pretty hard to make a fight very climactic when you have somebody like Luffy bending reality just to make things happen for him because he is who he is. Now, it's funny, when we first saw the fight between Luffy and Lucci, we're talking all the way back on Enies Lobby, Luffy was outclassed in almost every stat category. Speed, power, he definitely was outclassed in, like, as far as battle tactics and knowledge, and he was just outmatched by Lucci. But by the end of the fight, Luffy had surpassed him in terms of speed by using the gear second, and then even in terms of power by using gear third, turning into a giant blue man. He overcame Lucci in that fight. This fight with Lucci and Luffy was so fast, Lucci didn't even have any time to overcome. He basically just got his ass whooped, and Luffy was gone after that. So very, very different dynamics here. But it does show that Luffy, his power has just gone tremendously beyond what it was before, because Lucci himself has already surpassed, of course, what he was in the past. He's an awakened devil fruit user now. He's got to be amazing. On the tier of like the entire world, he's got to be up there, maybe like top 20, right? At least that's what we hope. I mean, the fact that he even took on Luffy, and Luffy's not like a killer or anything, but walked away from it, it's pretty good. But yeah, he couldn't do anything to Luffy. So how will Kizaru fare? Now, we don't see anything from Kizaru in this post-time skip besides just a few moments where he's just kind of making a comment about what's happening around the world. And I think that right there might be a clue. So we might think that because we don't see him a lot, that we don't have a lot to gain. But the few times we do see him, just his conversation, the things that he's saying and who he's talking to, can give us a little bit of inference about where or at least where he thinks his power level is. Now, pre-time skip, we saw a few times where Kizaru actually engaged in combat. So we got to see some of the feats that he was able to do and kind of get an idea of what his battle tactics would be, or just how powerful he is in general. And he's very, very powerful. He didn't even seem to be bothered with going in this town with these very high level, very strong and dangerous pirates and just taking them out like nothing. They were literally playthings to him. But is that the case now? I don't think so. So last time, again in Shibuya, we saw him clash with Rayleigh. So it's easy to say, oh, well, Rayleigh stopped him and they were kind of fighting on equal footing. So maybe he's about as strong as Rayleigh. That's safe to say. You could say that. But how do we know that he wasn't just either taking it easy on Rayleigh, or Rayleigh vice versa taking it easy on him? We don't really know that. We know that if both of them probably turned their battle skills or their tactics or their abilities all the way up to 10 in a real fight, that place would probably be a wasteland. So I'm sure that both of them really didn't want to get into a real fight, so they just allowed themselves to cancel each other out on that battlefield in that moment. So the next time we see Kizaru fight, we see him in Marineford, where he's kind of just allowed to go all out. And even then, he doesn't really seem to go out of his way to do anything. I mean, I feel like with his power, if he wanted to, he could just jumped up in the air and shot lasers down at all the riffraff pirates and saved a whole bunch of Marines, but he didn't. Sometimes it's about what you don't do that shows your either true power, lack of power, or just lack of give a fuck. He just gives zero fucks about this whole fight. It reminds me of something that happened in the DC graphic novel, The Watchmen. Dr. Manhattan has the ability to do whatever he wants. He could stop everything from happening bad if he wanted to. But he stood there and allowed that woman to try to hurt the comedian, and then the comedian shot her, and she was pregnant with his baby. It was terrible. I don't even know if I should be able to say this on YouTube. Either way, it was a terrible tragedy, and Dr. Manhattan was right there. He could have stopped it, but he didn't. So the same can be said for Kizaru in almost any instance. If he's there and he allows someone to be harmed, it's probably because he just doesn't care. We already know that his way of thinking has to be slowed down because he's so fast that he purposefully slows himself down. And even the way he talks is just so slow and casual. And just chill. Maybe he's just so chill that he's kind of like disengaged with humanity at this point. Maybe he doesn't even consider himself a man anymore. Now, where he's about to go up against a real god, how is that gonna turn him on? Is that gonna get him going? Is that gonna really put in some fight? Maybe we'll see the true powers of Kizaru in a fight against this Luffy. He didn't try to go and help anybody else fight Whitebeard. He just kind of did what he wanted to do until Ben Beckman showed up. Now, or the Red Hair Pirates showed up and Ben Beckman was just literally sitting there casually training his gun right on Kizaru. Kizaru's response was just I give up. I'm done. Like, you got me, you know? That is the universal sign for, yo, I don't want no beef, okay? We're good to go. I don't want no smoke, bro. We're done. We're good, okay? You do this anywhere in the entire world, everybody understands, okay, leave him alone. He's given up, right? So what would trigger that response from him, all right? We can assume the obvious was that Kizaru did not think that he could defeat Ben Beckman, or at least didn't think that it would be a guaranteed thing. Maybe he could die, right? So we would say that Ben Beckman is stronger or equal to Kizaru. I'm thinking maybe he just got, hockey bullets. Maybe he can just infuse hockey into his bullets so that makes him dangerous. But he's traveling at the speed of light, or at least we think he can travel at the speed of light, so he should be able to get out of the way. But I don't think that he really can. I think that Kizaru, while being a light man, seems to be very powerful. He is limited by the fact that he is human. The human brain sends signals to the rest of your body to trigger things. And we know that the Devil Fruit's ability is much like a muscle. You can work it, you can get better at it over time and use it and become more, build up your tolerance and your endurance and your stamina to use your power. But you're still limited by the fact that you're a human brain, and the time it takes for a message to travel in your brain is not as fast as the speed of light. So while his power may allow him to travel at the speed of light because he is light, it doesn't mean that the reaction time that Kizaru has is faster than light. Now, then we get into reaction timing, and we know in One Piece there's this thing that exists. It's called future sight. So we can assume that he probably doesn't have future sight, because if he did, he wouldn't have been surprised by Ben Beckman unless he just got thrown off. But of course, we also know that, Shanks can cancel the future sight. But either way, we didn't know that back then. I'm assuming that Kizaru does not have future sight, and Luffy does. So Luffy has that advantage over Kizaru right there. Also, anybody else that can get those sneaky attacks off on Kizaru with future sight, or just being able to just have that instinct to, that killer instinct to just sneak up on somebody, like someone like Zoro, who can just kind of do crazy, ridiculous, powerful feats. That might be something that we can sneak up on Kizaru with. Now, another thing we can infer from the clash between Ben Beckman and Kizaru is that maybe he doesn't want to fight Ben Beckman because this is another Emperor's crew who's joined this battle, or we don't know if they joined the battle, and he does not have permission to engage. I don't know about that. It's understandable in the heat of combat for you to kind of step outside and attack somebody. You join the battlefield, maybe another party, another faction on the battlefield, and before you actually get the orders to engage in combat, you just kind of take it upon yourself to do that. I feel like people would forgive him. Also, he's an admiral. I feel like giving himself that freedom would be understandable, especially for someone as dangerous as Ben Beckman or the Red Hair Pirates. But that didn't happen. So I ultimately believe that Ben Beckman is a threat to Kizaru. And knowing that he doesn't have a Devil Fruit means that Kizaru is probably afraid of his Haki ability. His armament Haki, probably, maybe even Future Sight. Now, Ben Beckman has Future Sight, right? And Kizaru doesn't. Hopefully he developed it over these last 2 years. It's possible. I mean, Luffy developed it in one fight with Katakuri, so it's possible that he could learn Future Sight. But if he comes to this fight without Future Sight, there's really nothing he can do. Another thing that I want to talk about in this fight is some wild cards in this battle. Kizaru may just get up to this battle and not have to worry about Luffy or anybody because he can't even interact with the Straw Hat crew. There are two people on this ship, who will be on that ship, that can manipulate light in a way that make Kizaru not a threat. One is Vegapunk, which we saw him do with his technology. He turned these doors that were made of light solid and then made them permeable again so you can pass through them at will. I'm sure that he has other technology that's portable that can make small adjustments to the way that light flows around him. He can make a shield, most likely, that just doesn't allow Kizaru's light to penetrate. Who knows? With Vegapunk, the sky's the limit. This guy has got boundless amounts of knowledge and technology at his disposal. I wouldn't put it past him to be able to just kind of bypass Kizaru. I know that if I was in Vegapunk's position, I would want to have some kind of defense against all the admirals just in case. And so I wouldn't put it past Vegapunk to have some kind of plan in place for Admiral Kizaru. Now, another person who you may not be thinking about, one of my favorites, the Pirate Queen herself, Nami. Nami will make it so that Kizaru is not a threat to anybody in the area, okay? We saw all the way back, funnily enough, again, back on Enies Lobby, where Nami used this ability that could stop Kizaru. Most powerful pirate against Kizaru anyway, on the 7 seas, or however many seas are in fucking One Piece. Alright? Listen to me, okay? Don't click away. Just listen. It's real, okay? This is happening. We're doing this. Nami's ability to use the Klimatact, right? To manipulate humidity and bend light. She made herself water clones, basically, little shadow clones or whatever, in the misty air of a bathhouse or a bathroom when she was fighting Khalifa, and defeated her with basically just this technology to confuse and disrupt what she was doing, and then eventually shock the fuck out of her. So I think that she's got two weapons against Kizaru. One, she could just diffract his light with humidity, just make it so that it's very hard for him to get a pinpoint on where he would be going. Even if he thought he would be going somewhere, by the time he ended up where he thought he would be somewhere completely different. So even his attacks would not be able to focus. They would either be refracted or redirected or just dispersed. He uses basically two forms of attacks. He uses laser beams, or I'm assuming he focuses his light particles so that they are physical, where they can actually impact you, and that's got to be really, really hard to do if you really think about how much energy that would take from somebody. But he seems to just do it however he likes. But that wouldn't be effective because she can disperse that light. And all the people that are scientists, let me know if I'm just cooking this up and I'm stupid in the comments below. That's fine. If I'm right, though, give me some credit. All right, but then his other form was where he kind of turns into light for a moment and then solidifies right before the moment of impact, like here. Now, this wouldn't be effective either because while he's traveling as light, his light would be scattered all over the place. And so, yeah, he may solidify himself at the end, but who knows what part or who or which area of his body is going to end up where. It just, at the very least, she's going to make that battle very difficult for him. And now she has Zeus on her side, which I'm assuming would just enhance that ability and maybe even allow it to be more controlled because Zeus is sentient and can help her control those water particles in an even more effective manner. And on top of that, who knows if Kizaru was able to not be struck by lightning, you know? Like, nah, maybe not. Maybe he's safe from the lightning, but we still got Luffy there to deliver hockey blows, along with Sanji and, oh, not Usopp, I'm gonna say Usopp, and Zoro. So I think that this is really not a fight anymore that is dangerous. And yeah, Kizaru, if he learned, I mean, I'm sure he has great hockey control. I'm sure he's great at pretty much everything, but I'm assuming he doesn't have future sight. And without that, this puts him below the standard that they need to meet to fight the Straw Hats. So I just don't see him as a threat. I do see him as powerful, probably more powerful than Lucci. But when we saw in that fight with Lucci and Luffy, no other Straw Hats were involved. It was just Luffy and Lucci, and there was nothing Lucci can do. He walked away looking sad. Even after his super badass power-up, you know, he looked super cool in his awakened form, you know, but it wasn't enough. So if Kizaru doesn't come in here with an awakened light man fruit and just turn everything to light, which, what would that even be like? I don't see this happening for him. I see them probably getting away, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, like, subscribe. I'll see you next week.